welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that we did from Chandigarh, talking about the SME ecosystem and the intersection between the public and the private. We traveled to 20 cities across the country, interacting directly with you, the SME entrepreneur. Take a listen to some of the highlights of that panel discussion from experts guiding our attending entrepreneurs about how to grow and what they should do if they're looking for funding.
One of the most remarkable things about the city of Chandigarh has the highest per capita income in the country. And yet the government, the public sector, is the largest employer in this city. So for someone like myself, for the benefit of an outsider looking in, what makes this possible? Because from the onset, this is seemingly inherently contradictory.
You see, this started as an administrative city. So with changing times, now if you talk about today, it's north of Delhi's got the best infrastructure, so best quality of life. So we have a lot of opportunities. So many educational institutions have come up. So because of all this talent, I would say now it's evolving into a commercial hub. Even SMEs, for that matter, they have shifted their focus from manufacturing to IT because of the opportunities there and digital transformation.
But Sumeer, one wouldn't traditionally think that the government, and it being the largest employer, would translate into highest per capita income. So, how does that necessarily fit in? How does that apply in your view? If you could just piggyback on what Naveen has said here.
Well, definitely the influx of, the IT giants coming to the city of Chandigarh and the coming up of the IT park almost over a decade ago, has brought in a lot of alternative, not only the government employment, but private employment. And in the IT sector, I would say.
Well, Pratham, my next question is to you. Sure, if many MNCs are setting up shop here, right? They're setting up sizable development centers here in the city of Chandigarh. For the local tech-based SME, does that pose an opportunity or is that a threat?
I think every cluster, be it Bangalore, Hyderabad, Noida, Gurgaon, or Chandigarh, would have this opportunity as well as this threat. But just one more thing to your previous question.
Please.
Chandigarh is actually the capital for two states, right? Haryana and Punjab. And what that means is that it has the administrative machinery of not one, but two states, right? And so I think outside of Delhi, Chandigarh has the highest number of IAS anywhere in the country. And I think they skew the average wages in one direction quite a bit.
Saurabh, my next question is to you. What does a superior infrastructure make possible for the SME community? How can they reap the rewards of it? Or does this continue to be a space that's dominated by the larger traditional players?
Actually, what happens when big corporates come in, there is a more disposable income at stand with the people. And the nature of SME changes. Today, there may be Kriana stores for that matter, but tomorrow, if more and more IT people will be employed over here with more disposable income, the nature of SMEs will change. The kind of businesses, small businesses, will definitely change. In addition to what startups will come in, obviously, because the talent is coming in.
Saurabh, you make a great point in that the nature of SMEs are changing. And it's so important to capitalize on your natural environment. And that is where I think, Somveer, you really come in with Pind Fresh.
Agri point of view, it's but natural to do something in agri based in Chandigarh. You've got the farmers who are ready. I mean, these are Punjabi farmers. They are ready to adopt any technology they see. And I'm sure he can kind of, he's now a farmer himself. So they are ready to adopt technologies. They know what they want. We can export easily from here. We have high disposable income, so people buy stuff here.
Let's dig a bit deeper here. And Alok, I pose this question to you. So say an SME or a startup is knocking on an incubator's door. What are the eligibility criteria, broadly speaking?
The drive is कि Chandigarh रह के कुछ करना है, if you will, right? So if the drive is around the city, and that passion, if you can, you will figure out answers. If you think about what drives industry? There are always three, sort of enablers: talent, ecosystem, market.
Is a robust tech platform enough, or does it have to be a differentiated one? Obviously there's no shortage of Me Too players, right? So I'm trying to understand how much differentiation is required such that it even qualifies as a unique solution that may be worth pursuing for an incubator.
Yeah, you're right, because SMEs growth has been around 10% last year, with 60% growth coming from technology, digital platforms. So all the more reason to concentrate on this. Regarding incubation centers, I would say government has to step in on this. Not only incubation centers, a lot of talent pool is there. So startups are there. The only thing is they have to take a big leap forward. Like they have to be in unicorn list. They have to become unicorns. So there comes the role for the administration or the government. Not only incubation center, they need to have on their platform at lesser cost. There should be CAs, there would be bankers, there should be real estate brokers. So that needs to be in place. I would suggest that administration set up, government has to step in to take a big leap forward. So that's it.
Pratham, do you agree with that point of view, that what's lacking is perhaps favorable government policy and the other ingredients are here, whether it's a hard-working labor force or a high literacy rate, so on and so forth? Yeah. What's the missing ingredient?
While technology is definitely an enabler, innovation can come from anywhere, in any industry. So that's point one. Point two, around government being supportive or not, I think it's very difficult for governments to move, right, with the speed that startups and the private sector moves, right?
Today you're hearing of all of these resources available to the startup or SME community. In your journey, did you knock on any of these doors? Were you in touch with any of the gentlemen or their organizations in the context of building your company, in the context of helping it achieve the next milestone of growth?
Luckily for me, my ecosystem was very cocooned. So I had a very kind of comfortable, nice ecosystem to get into. I had my college here. I had a lot of friends who are now doing really well. So our challenges were to sell. Our challenges weren't that we needed. We were a manufacturing company. We had no tech behind us. We needed to make a product for 10 rupees and sell it for 15 rupees. There is no burn rate. There's nothing. So we never needed to get into a VC relationship or call up those friends who finally made it big. So we didn't have to do all that. But yeah, a lot of those resources we did use in terms of very open, very accessible angel investors.
Chandigarh is an emerging IT hub, but beginning to become a leading education hub. So what luck has this Tier 2 city had in retaining Tier 1 talent?
So the major reason is it is capital for 2 states, and it is also very near to Himachal. So 3 states are like the neighborhood states for this particular one city, where students right from 10th or 11th standard come to this city to start coaching for different competitive exams.
An important component of the SME community here in the city of Chandigarh is, multi-generation family-owned and operated enterprises. And, Alok, so much of what we're now hearing is there's a resistance in the next generation to join the family business. So for entrepreneurs in this audience who may be facing that dilemma or that tension, so to speak, how would you respond to them?
I think for lots of second generation entrepreneurs, the first generation may not be they provide a platform, but it's a platform that they can use to innovate and create new enterprise. And I think for everybody, it's not necessary that your kid joins and works in the same business that you build up, but if he uses that experience or that as a platform to build a completely new business or grow a different business, that's just as well. I don't think people think in terms of building businesses that last generations anymore. In fact, I think if you look at the Fortune 100, there's probably like 5 companies that have been around for 100 years. Everything changes. So what are we really building for? What is, as long as the second generation builds and becomes an entrepreneur, I'd be very happy. Doesn't necessarily mean that that person my kid has to join my business. right? My business is probably best served by somebody who's a professional, who's put in his sweat, blood, and toil building the business just as much as I have. And I think that's what every first generation entrepreneur should look at. Find the right fit for your business. Don't try to fit your kid into the business.
Do you believe what Alok has presented is sort of an oversimplification, or does it hold true?
Changing trends in technology, like if you say, take my case, I'm a conventional hardcore manufacturing unit I'm running. So my son wouldn't like to join me. He's overqualified to run the business. He's an engineer, he's an MBA, he's doing consultancy in an American company, and he wants to start on his own one day after a few years. So that's the reason, because we can't catch hold of them and nahi yahi karna hai. Because with the changing trends, plus the education, plus the new technology coming in, so set him free to do on his own.
Are there opportunities emerging for SMEs, or do you see them emerging, foresee them emerging for SMEs? Or is this a space where larger players will continue to dominate and, you know, big fish eats little fish, end of story?
No, Chandigarh administration is aware of the fact, and I would like to share with you, they are come up with Chandigarh Innovation Circle, CIC, where they're going to set up a platform for all these startups and give them a platform at a reasonable cost.
With times, actually, manufacturing is also changing. Manufacturing industry is also changing. We are coming up with new equipments, kind of technologies, like robots for that matter. We need different parts for that robots to be built and manufactured. And I guess for some period of time, the manufacturing industry had a setback for last 20 years since the IT boom, but now the amalgam of both the things, software as well as hardware, is again coming up, picking up, and most of the startups should be active in that. The example is he's building a hydroponic setup, right? So which will be the future in agriculture, definitely, especially for metropolitan cities. So we need different manufacturing units for that, and different manufacturing companies coming up.
I'm going to slip into a very short break on that note, but we'll continue bringing you the highlights of that panel discussion from Chandigarh. Much more when we come back on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight on the show, highlights of a panel discussion that we do as part of a 20-city roadshow across the country. Tonight, we're putting the spotlight on Chandigarh.
What's especially interesting, building on your point about Chandigarh and its demographic, actually, let's talk about that for a moment, is that it's considered to be 97% urban and fewer than 3% rural, which is highly unusual for any Indian city. That said, Sumir, you know, what does this mean from an investment standpoint? Are we on the cusp of reaping a rich demographic dividend in this city?
Definitely, yes. I think we are moving on. The urban part, but the 97% you mentioned definitely attracts investors too. But as Pratham mentioned, that there's diversity in the nature of businesses which is coming up, you know, definitely helps, you know, to increase the number from 3% to 10%, where you come on not only like what they are doing in farming and all. I can give you an example. We had a student startup, which just won a competition, and their startup was Your Mali. You know, what they do is they just, you can just engage them to take care of your garden. You know, so they can maintain your garden for a month this price, for 2 months this price, and they can also have your seasonal flowers coming up and all that stuff, whatever, you know. So look at the way they're, but tech again becomes, as you said, is an enabler. So that to increase their sales and to keep the customers connected, you know, they need to bring in tech in their, you know, business. So things like these, definitely diversifying sectors, definitely adds to the per capita income and the demographic dividend also. But I would also like to address one point here, which is that on the manufacturing part, since this is a SME focused thing, is that, don't you find a challenge hiring, the right kind of labor? Are they upskilling? Because labor is a big challenge. If you go down Ludhiana, Jalandhar, in these Amritsar, the manufacturing hubs, even in industrial area, Panchkula, Chandigarh, how do you keep upbeat with keeping them motivated?
Self-training in the workshops, mainly that, because we don't have skilled manpower. You're right, manpower is in shortage, so they learn gradually, and our workshops are mainly learning centers.
The Make in India campaign and all the subsidies that many of the manufacturing companies get. We are working on building a food park at this point. And I was surprised to find that the government is giving us, I think, 35-40% subsidy in starting that food park, right? Which IT company gets that kind of subsidy, right? So I think we're going to see an upsurge of other industries beyond just IT coming in the next few years. And we have two examples right here.
Just to ask you a question on this. Sure. We definitely see different sectors coming up, but do you see Indian education system also uplifting with that?
So let's look at the numbers here, right? Right now, 66%, 2/3 of all Indian students are enrolled in a university or college that is run directly or indirectly by the government, right? Only 1/3 of students are enrolled in private sector colleges or universities, right? So the bulk of the students are still studying in government-sponsored or government-run colleges, universities. And if you look at the syllabus review system in these universities or colleges, you'll see that, in fact, I'll give you an example. If you go to Delhi University, I'm sure a lot of your viewers have gone to Delhi University. If you look at the last reprint of the economics syllabus of Delhi University, the last reprint was in 1996. Okay? A lot of my friends have told me this story. 1996, that's 25 years almost, right? So that means the syllabus has not been updated in 25 years. So the government needs to buck up when it comes to updating the kind of curriculum that they're teaching. In private sector universities, and we have two examples on stage, lovely professional university as well as Chitkara, and I know for a fact that Chitkara as well as us, every summer, I think, we sit with the industry folk and figure out what is the gap, what is the knowledge gap, what is it that we are teaching and what is it the industry actually needs, right? And we bring the industry people to the university to train first our teachers in those new technologies like AI, like ML, like data. And then the teachers sort of disseminate that amongst the students over the year.
When we look at Chandigarh में opportunity नहीं है, Chandigarh में challenges हैं. नहीं है यार, Chandigarh में बहुत opportunity है, छुपी हुई है. आपको पता है कितने 100 करोड़ के enterprises Chandigarh में रहते हैं. So we are not celebrating our successes. We are looking at the big government failures and saying, boss, Chandigarh has been. Chandigarh में बहुत कुछ innovation है और बहुत हो रहा है. It's just hidden. I mean, the first ECG machine in the country was made here. The first, I'm talking about 20 years, 30 years ago. The first telecom outsourcing IT project in the world happened here in Mohali.
Well, I think that makes for a wonderful close for tonight. But, I have to thank all of our panelists for sharing so many personal and professional anecdotes from your respective journeys. We'll open up the floor for question and answer.
I've been a supply chain executive for the last 20 odd years, various industries, automotive and etc. I'm very much interested in the blockchain technology for the supply chain industry, not Bitcoin. Can you please help me somebody get connected in Tri-City for that?
The blockchain piece and supply chain is obviously one angle that we are working on in Himekara. So bringing transparency to the consumers where they could see a particular product and get to understand from where it is coming and under what conditions it was stored. And that is essential one element of supply chain. Blockchain is a very beautiful use case in that. So I don't know what industry you are into and what exactly is the use case. But it is a very costly affair, and it is very early to speak anything about blockchain because it is just a database. To be pretty, blockchain is a database, to be honest. So basically, it's a way of storing data. It's more of a hype sometimes than the real applications around it. So if there is a use case that it is essential to understand what is the ingredients of a particular item and from where it is coming, and people are willing to pay for it, then it is the best to go ahead and execute blockchain.
The infrastructure, funding, marketing, skill. I don't know, you have taken up the infrastructure, but funding, as you said, is only 1%. I don't think it is even 1% for the VCs or angel funders. The issue which I would like to know how far this funding as well as the training part, the skill development, because that is also one area which is lacking totally in this particular development area. So let us have some development or some issues, key issues which can be formed so that we take it forward.
If your company needs funds and if it's ready for fundraising, then even if you don't find people who can put money in you, those people will find you for sure. Right? Most of the VCs have outreach teams whose entire jobs is just to scout good investment opportunities, including ours. Right? So, once you reach a stage where you're a good candidate for fundraising, someone or the other will find you, even if you don't go out searching for them. Right? So I think, and it doesn't matter if you're in Chandigarh, if you're in Jalandhar, if you're in Srinagar. People will find you and they'll negotiate and they'll close the deal.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to offer all of our panelists a huge round of applause. I believe it's deeply deserved.
All right, that wraps up our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, we love hearing from you. Do get in touch as always. We are on email at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com, on social media, Sunanda_Jain, LOT_ET Now on Twitter, on Facebook, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.